Hey marketing leader, today I'd like to talk to you about infinite websites, and this is an interesting, intriguing, hopefully title, but it's simple at its nature. And what I want to talk to you about, there's no as in listicles here, there's no how-to in this video. I simply want to convey a concept of building websites on the fixed terms. It just doesn't work. That's a spoiler alert. But without dwelling here too much, I'd like to go right into it and talk to you about how building a website in a fixed environment is going to hurt your business and is not going to help you long term either. So let's do it. Let's get one thing out of the way immediately. Fixed scope doesn't necessarily exist in software development world. There are cases where fixed scope, and we call it in our field waterfall methodology. There are scenarios, instances where the waterfall, the fixed scope works. When you actually have done tremendous amount of research upfront, you've detailed everything for the next however long the project is going to take, and you actually know precisely what is going to be delivered at any point of time, and it's going to cost you exactly that kind of amount. I see potential to it. I see why this is tempting to work that way, because from the client perspective, it gives that extra reassurance that they're going to pay X for Y and they're gonna get it at Z. Okay. But from the agency perspective, the team that delivers that website, this is shooting yourself in the foot. And I would like to come in here today and talk to you about how we can level that field a bit. Now, the reason why I really don't use fixed scope approach to anything in terms of building web design or even running the whole business is because business is a living creature. It changes all the time, from your daily goals to your quarterly reports to the size of your team and moods within the team. Things that are out of your control exist there too. It's just life. So there's no place in that kind of business ecosystem for a fixed thing. There's not. It just can't fit that puzzle into the bigger picture. Let's take a website delivery, website design as an example. As a marketing leader, you approach an agency to build your business a website that will promote your company, that will help you run those marketing campaigns, convert the traffic, and make everyone happy. Great. So the reason behind the need for the website is perfect, valid, and that's great. However, if you approach a typical agency that's on your high street, you probably get an estimate in reach of 4 to 6 months for delivery time and some kind of quote that is fixed. You probably have to pay half upfront and half at the end. That is typical scenario for collaboration with a web design agency. Again, for reasons mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is healthy for you, maybe not so healthy for the agency, but regardless, you decide to proceed. And let's say that, and that's never the case, everything went smoothly and they actually build you a website and are ready to launch in 6 months from now. Perfect. But is it? You see, the thing is that your business have moved on in those 6 months. If you look retrospectively at your role in a company, at your team members, at your board of directors, or your overall organization pace and change within that organization, you'll realize that you can expect the same dynamicity going forward too. So in those 6 months, your company pivoted. They invented a new product. They discarded a product. They changed the mission, vision, attended different events, conferences, or maybe came up with a completely new strategy that needs to be reflected on the website. Yet, you're getting a website that reflects your business from 6 months ago. How do you deal with that? You've already paid for that website. It was an investment then, but now it's just an expense, really. And you have to pay extra now to updated again and again. You probably are getting timescales of about a couple of months or more. So it's like a vicious cycle, and it's tempting to go into that fixed relationship approach, but it hurts both sides of the deal. So just keep that in mind. The reason why I really like agile approach, and this is what NerdCow is all about, is because agile is great. It's just phenomenal at risk management. It's all about minimizing risk while increasing that delivery of feature, of value, of that satisfaction across the board in all teams, whether that's development, design, product, marketing. All teams should work together, enjoy that collaboration, and produce something brilliant that goes out into the world and let other people enjoy it too. With that said, Agile can't take the typical approach that I outlined earlier. You can't be that rigid about scoping things out, about invoicing things out, about communication, etc. It needs to be a bit more frivolous. It needs to be a bit more fluid and adaptive, almost day to day. With that said, when you work in Agile, the scope is infinite. And that's how we go back to the title of this video. Websites are infinite, and the only way to keep up with that is going Agile, because only Agile can manage the infinity of it all. It can manage that risk. It can adjust the trajectory of the project and collaborate with everyone that needs to contribute regularly so that project moves towards the right direction and is up to date almost all the time. Going back to our scenario, had you approached an agile agency, you would get a roadmap of about 2 weeks ahead. And that sounds scary. Many people get turned off by it. I know it's scary, but also it's highly rewarding. Whereas there is also reward. That's a typical example. However, again, going back to the philosophy of Agile, we all work to minimize that risk as much as possible. So if you look at it that way, reward is still huge or even bigger than initially thought, whereas risk gets smaller and smaller as we progress through the project. So again, you would get a roadmap of maybe 2 weeks, maybe to a month, but then you catch up every now and then, every week, every second week, or however often you agree with the team to check in, see if we are doing the right thing, if there are any issues that need to be solved right away, if there's been any request that we have to keep in mind, and then we just sprint on again. And we just go in those weekly, bi-weekly, monthly cycles as a team in a collaborative approach to get where we want to be while learning a lot on the way. And with that said, whether your business has any kind of dramatic changes in the offering, in the team, or in some kind of business strategy, Agile can almost instantly start taking that into account. There's also the topic of bugs. And again, we have to compare head-to-head both approaches, the fixed approach and the agile fluid approach, let's say. Bugs happen. You have to accept it. Bugs will happen no matter how good the team is, no matter how good you are. Bugs will happen because we cannot expect the unexpected. Simple as that. So therefore, you cannot estimate them. You cannot tame them, if that is a better word. So it only makes sense to think about bugs in the agile way. Whereas waterfall also experiences the same issue, because however great you are at scoping things out up front, however much time you put into it, bugs will crop in. You will get the scope creep. 100%. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Yet waterfall is just not equipped to deal with it. Everything has to be so rigid. It has to stick to the plan so much that if there's any anomaly in all of it, you get troubles, you get delays, you get mishaps, you get things lost in translations, or you just spend more money than you initially thought. Whereas in Agile, if you have bugs and you keep them the same way, you just accept the fact that they exist because you reiterate, because you learn and you observe what's happening on weekly basis or whatever basis you guys went for, you are there to react as soon as possible, as soon as they crop out. But the question is, what is the benefit of not estimating the bugs, of not accounting for them? Well, first of all, you can't account for them because they just happen, okay? But also fixing them is really another thing that's unknown, infinite. So if you just accept the reality that bugs are the way they are, you instantly get benefits from that perspective. First of all, you remove that noise, and so therefore your team can focus on delivery of value. And this is not a video where we talk about delivery of value and value overall, but whatever value means to you, whether that's the new component on the website, whether that's some kind of action that you want the user to take, and now because of that functionality they can do that, whatever the value is to you and your business, Agile can now focus on that because bugs are just there. They exist. That's fine. We'll take care of them as they come into the picture. But for now, let's just head on straight at the delivery of the features of the value and be that much better at the end of it. Also, long-term planning then becomes much more accurate because you don't account for unexpected. Well, I don't know how you would even put it down in the form of a timeline if you don't know what that is, that bug, and when they going to come into the picture. But without that noise, again, you get more accurate, more clear look into the future, into the trajectory of the project. You can actually now focus on creating a roadmap that aligns with departments, with some kind of objectives, plans for your business. And even though Agile doesn't look into the future that far, we're talking about half a year, 1 year, Agile knows where you want to go, and they go there in those baby steps. So even though you don't really have that development roadmap for about 3, 4, 6 months ahead, you still know where you are headed. And that's brilliant. And without those bugs in front of you and without you worrying about them, you are just better equipped to create those roadmaps that are far more accurate and that your team can rely on. And finally, bugs are hard to deal with. And the reason why that is because bugs usually surface at the least expected moments. And so they are kind of out of the context. You don't know what caused them. You don't know who contributed to that, so you can pick their brain for help. They are kind of lost in the context of all the new features, all the development that happened since someone had this oversight in the code or in the design or whatever, because bugs are both design and development related. Time that takes to find out the root of the bug and then to find potential solution that also works with all the code that already has happened after the bug has been discovered. It is tough work. It is really tough work, and it's something that we call technical debt. We will have another video on it, or if you're interested in technical debt, we have a great article on our blog right now. But regardless, bugs are hard to work with. Sometimes they might be impossible to fix, and you will have to have some kind of work around them. But that's just another reason to ignore them when planning your project, when working with software. And website is a software, right? So next time you come in contact with an agency, ask how they approached project management and those roadmaps and how they deal with bugs. Because I feel like if you go down the route of fixed scoping, fixed timelines, fixed budget, etc., you'll just miss out. And I think you will waste money, waste resources, and you just not get what you want out of that engagement. So that's just it. A bit of me blabbering about, but hopefully there's some merit to it. I was really trying to keep the video as concise as possible and as helpful as possible. So if there's anything you think I've missed or you don't agree with, or even if you agree, do let me know in the comments. I really love to hear from you. But for now, that's enough from me. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.